It started on a Friday. My parents were out, and I had the whole house to myself. I was lounging on the couch, surrounded by snacks, ready for a movie marathon. The first couple of hours were chill, just me laughing at comedies and stuffing my face with popcorn. But then, close to midnight, the vibe changed. It started with this weird scratching noise outside, like nails on wood. I paused the movie thinking, maybe it's a stray cat or a raccoon rummaging through the trash. I shrugged it off and hit play again. The noises, however, didn't stop. They evolved. What sounded like scratching now seemed like someone was fumbling with the lock on the back door. My initial annoyance turned to anxiety. I muted the TV, straining my ears to catch any sound. There it was again, the unmistakable sound of the doorknob being tampered with. My stomach knotted. Who could it be at this hour? I tiptoed to the kitchen where I could see the back door. The moonlight cast eerie shadows, and for a moment, everything was silent. Then, a shadow passed in front of the door. My heart skipped. I grabbed the nearest thing that resembled a weapon, a kitchen knife, and hid behind the counter. Peeking over, I saw the doorknob turn slowly. It was like in those horror movies where the victim watches helplessly. But the door didn't open. I remembered, with a sigh of relief, I'd locked it earlier. Yet relief quickly turned to terror when a face appeared at the kitchen window. A pale, gaunt face staring right at me. I ducked down, holding my breath, hoping they hadn't seen me. Then a loud bang against the window made me yelp in fear. The person outside was getting desperate, trying to break in. I crawled to my phone on the living room floor, dialed 911, and whispered my situation and address. The dispatcher's calm voice was a slight comfort as she instructed me to hide until the police arrived. Footsteps sounded inside the house now. I hadn't heard the door open. How did they get in? Panic set in. I rushed to my bedroom, locked the door, and slid under the bed, phone clutched tightly. From my hiding spot, I could hear the intruder moving through the house, items being shuffled, drawers being opened. They were looking for something or someone. The footsteps grew louder, closer, until they stopped right outside my bedroom. Silence. My heart was pounding so loud I thought it would give me away. Then that voice, chilling and soft. "Come out, I just want to talk." I could barely hold back my sobs, frozen in place. Time seemed to stand still until the distant sound of police sirens pierced the night. The footsteps retreated hastily. When the police finally stormed in, I crawled out from under the bed, tears streaming down my face. They searched the house but found no one. The intruder had vanished, leaving behind a nightmare that would haunt my nights for a long time. I was never comfortable being alone at night after that. Every sound would make me jump, heart racing, fearing the return of my uninvited guest. I was lucky to survive that night. All right, so get this. I'm at home, right? Middle of nowhere. Parents gone for the weekend, and it's like super quiet. Just me, the house, and a whole lot of nothing. So I'm about to hit the hay early, because why not? But then, out of nowhere, this weird tapping starts up, like someone's messing with me. Tapping on the window. I figure it's just the wind or something, so I try to ignore it. But man, it gets weirder. The tapping's not giving up. It's got like a rhythm to it. Now I'm sitting up in bed, freaking out a bit, you know? I peek out the window and it's pitch black, nothing to see. I'm telling myself, chill, it's all good. But deep down, I'm not buying it. Then, as if tapping wasn't enough, there's this creepy dragging sound outside, like something's moving around the house. No way am I thinking it's just the wind now. My phone's dead to the world. No signal, typical for my luck. So there I am, barricading my door like I'm in some horror flick, staring at the window like it's about to burst open or something. Everything goes quiet for a bit, and I'm almost convinced I'm just being paranoid. But then, boom, shadow passes by my window. My heart's like doing the 100-meter sprint. No joke. This shadow's playing games, pacing outside, and then I hear my name being whispered. Not gonna lie, I've never been so scared in my life. I spent the whole night wide awake, lights on, watching the door and window like a hawk. Nothing else happened, but I swear the fear was real. By morning, I was a total wreck, but there was no sign anyone had actually been there. Gotta say, never been happier to see the sun come up. So, yeah, that's my brush with what felt like a real-life horror movie. Home Alone in the Sticks has its perks, but man, some nights it's just too freaky. It was a stormy Tuesday night, and I was alone in our old family house since my folks were visiting relatives. The house, with its creaky floors and howling drafts, always gave me the creeps, but tonight it felt even spookier with the storm raging outside. I was in my room upstairs trying to ignore the wind's moans, binge-watching a series to keep my mind off the unsettling atmosphere. That's when the power flickered and went out, plunging me into darkness. Great, I muttered, fumbling for the flashlight on my nightstand. The beam of light felt like little protection as I made my way downstairs to check the fuse box, telling myself it was just a regular power outage, nothing to freak out about. But as I reached the bottom of the stairs, I froze. Through the thunder, I heard what sounded like footsteps in the living room. I thought, no way, it's just the storm, right? But then I heard it again, clearer this time, deliberate steps on the wooden floor. My heart was pounding in my chest. Maybe it's just a branch or something hitting the house, I tried to convince myself, too scared to move. I mustered up the courage to inch toward the living room, flashlight gripped like a lifeline. Every step felt like an eternity. As I peeked around the corner, the flashlight beam landed on a figure standing by the window looking out into the storm. I gasped, and the figure turned. Its face was obscured by shadows. I didn't recognize them, and panic surged through me. I wanted to run, scream, anything, but I was paralyzed. Then the figure stepped into the light, and to my horror, it wasn't a burglar or a ghost, but my older brother, who was supposed to be at college. He turned to me, confused and annoyed. "Why are you sneaking around with a flashlight?" Turns out, he had come home early to surprise us and got caught in the storm. The power outage was just bad timing. After the shock wore off and I stopped trembling, we laughed about it. He teased me for the rest of the night about how I'd faced the terrifying intruder with nothing but a flashlight. The house still felt eerie in the storm, but with my brother there, it was a lot less frightening. That night, what started as a scene from a horror movie in my mind turned into a ridiculous family story. But I learned that fear could turn even the familiar into something sinister, especially when you're all alone in a dark, stormy house. This happened to me last winter, and I swear it's straight out of a horror scene. I was home alone, right? My place is pretty isolated, surrounded by woods, and it was one of those nights where the silence is so heavy you can almost feel it. Everyone else was out of town, and I was supposed to be enjoying the peace, but the vibe was off. So I'm trying to sleep, and then I hear this scratching like from the attic or walls. I'm thinking, great, probably a raccoon or something. But it sounded wrong. Too deliberate. I tried to ignore it, but then there's a thud upstairs, like something heavy hitting the floor. Now I'm wide awake, heart pounding. I don't believe in ghosts or whatever, but alone in the dark, your mind goes places, you know. I grabbed a baseball bat because, hell, I'm not checking that noise unarmed. As I'm standing outside the attic door, I realize how insane this is, but the curiosity or fear or whatever pushed me to open it. I flick the switch. Light's dead, of course. So, phone flashlight in one hand, bat in the other, I go up. The air's cold, and I can see my breath. I'm scanning around, and then my light catches something by the window. It's like a figure, but as I step closer, I realize it's just an old mannequin my mom used for sewing, draped in some fabric. Relieved but still on edge, I laugh at myself for being such a wimp. But then, the scratching noise starts again right behind me. I spin around, nothing there. Then the real heart-stopper, footsteps, clear as day, running across the attic floor towards me. I noped out of there, fast as I could, didn't stop to look back. I spent the rest of the night with all the lights on, waiting for daylight. Next day, I checked the attic, nothing amiss, no signs anyone was there. But the thing is, the mannequin I thought I saw, it wasn't there, hadn't been for years. So yeah, that's my tale. Call it stress, imagination, whatever, but I felt that fear in my bones. Being alone in a creepy house messes with you, especially when things go bump in the night. Never looked at that attic the same way again. Thank you for watching. If you found these stories gripping, don't forget to subscribe for more spine-tingling content. For another hair-raising tale, check out our suggested video. And if you're hungry for more eerie encounters, dive into our playlist featuring similar chilling narratives.